Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the best Formula One podcast you've never listened to. My name's Dan, joined by Alex, and we have had a long, relaxing, but boring spa weekend. Did you enjoy yourself, Alex?
I put the cucumbers over the eyes and just put the ocean sounds on and just sort of drifted away into a little bit of slumber. Not like it's an all-time stinker, isn't it? Near enough. It's just, I think when we get to our bang list at the end of the year, I mean, thoroughly unbanged. Annoyingly, a very good mate of mine who I've been trying to get into F1 messaged me like, hey, you're going to be proud of me. I watched both quali sessions and the sprint and the race this weekend, and I went, oh, no. Oh, Jordan, no, not this weekend. I said, it's not that one. Don't remember that, right? Yeah. Give me that as a freebie. Try again, because look, we didn't put our best foot forward as a sport on the weekend.
No, I mean, we contributed very little towards it. We weren't there. We had no impact on whether it was going to be good or bad or not. So I don't think you can take responsibility for it. I think you've tried. You've opened the door. You've kind of planted the seed. It started to grow into a nice flower, and then it, well, ironically, probably forgot to be watered and just died.
Yeah, died quite quickly as well. Died like a couple of laps in.
Yeah, wilted.
Yes. Wilted in the lack of heat.
Anyway, what is on the starting grid for this week's episode?
There's a little bit on the start. It's actually, it's going to be a little bit of a negative episode, I think. I don't think either of us have necessarily a massive amount of positive things to discuss. But we've got a little bit of a look back over the weekend. We're not concerned about the sprints, but there's some concerns about the sprints. There's some concerns about Carlos, some concerns about Mercedes. We do have a little bit of praise for Bortoletto. And then I don't think it's praise or concern about some FIA stuff for once. We might be quite neutral on some FIA wet weather procedural safety kind of biz.
Yep.
But we'll just start with Spa in general, shall we? And we've touched on it there. Not great, kind of from start to finish, to be honest. I can't really tell you much of a highlight from any of the competitive sessions.
No, not really. No. Not really. I mean, the sprint race was the sprint race. I think we saw Alex Albon's mum a few times in the broadcast, which was nice.
There was a lot of Lando. There was a lot of mum content actually, because there was a lot of Lando mum business as well. A lot of mum. Hey, very mummy weekend.
Slow day. Get the mums out.
Get them out.
Get the mums
on show.
No, I don't think there was. I genuinely know. I'm sure there will be a lot of people going, yeah, but what about the move for 17th on lap 23 that you didn't see on? And yeah, there were some good bits and pieces down towards that back end of it during the Grand Prix. Hamilton had a decent little drive, didn't he, through the field? There were some occasional bits of back and forth. I think Antonelli and Ocon had a little couple of bits and pieces around Lecombe, or whatever it's called. But look, the thing is, it's now the end of July. We were building up to 2025. Not just you and I. Everybody in the world of Formula One was telling us how good the 2025 Formula One World Championship season was going to be, because there were going to be 6 drivers that were going to be able to win the World Drivers' title. People were going to take points off each other every week. The grid is even. Nobody's going to develop the car. We know exactly what we're going to get, and we've got absolutely none of it. And I think as the next race comes around for August, yes, we've got an interesting battle. It's not great. It's an interesting battle at the top between Piastri and Norris. And it just feels like Norris is going to end up beating himself. But I think we can kind of write this season off and put it into the archives and realise the fact that we've all been gaslighted and catfished and whatever other psychological trauma that people can categorise things with, and the 2025 season hasn't lived up to what we thought it was going to be.
See, I'm going to be contrary.
No,
which we don't do a lot. I'm going to be contrary. It's not fully what we were sold, right? And if we do it on an all-inclusive buffet, right, we thought we were getting premium imported spirits and the lunch buffet and the snack table and whatever. But what I will say is, although the whole buffet has been a little bit underwhelming, tell you what, they know how to make a bloody gyro, and their salt and pepper calamari is bang on, right? So it's the whole buffet. There's not the variety on the buffet that we expected, but they are, I tell you what, they do these sliders at lunchtime, and the sliders are fucking incredible, and I just kept going back for the sliders. And the McLaren battle is sliders.
You've already listed more variability on your premium buffet than what we've had this year. I think. Look. You can have your salt and pepper calamari for your starter. And you can have your gyro or gyros or whatever you want to call it for your main. If you're happy to go to a hotel for 14 days and enjoy that and have the same meal 14 days in a row because you know that everything else is garbage, hot, stinky garbage, then enjoy it. Look, if that's what you're after, beautiful.
I didn't say it's what I'm after. I'm saying it's what I've got. But did people not lose their fucking minds over the Hamilton-Rosberg, back and forth, head-to-head teammate battle for the championship all year? We've got exactly the same thing again. They're just in a different coloured car. So we can't not like it now when we liked it previously.
World champions back in 2012 or 2011 or 13 or whatever it was.
But people loved it last time. So we can't not love it this time. Yes, okay, we thought there was going to be a third name in there. Realistically, I don't think we ever saw the Ferraris genuinely competing for, driver championships. I think we maybe expected Hamilton to be on the podium at least once, and Leclerc to maybe nip a couple of wins in there, and probably Verstappen to take a couple more wins than he has. But you can't ask for much more than being 8 points apart, 9 points apart at just over the halfway point between two drivers. Yes, they're on the same team. If anything, them being on the same team brings another layer into it because that's got more tiers written all over it, I think, than being on different teams. But we've got to find these little things. But I don't think it's that bad. It's just, it doesn't quite look like it did in the pictures. It's still all right.
No, it's like when you go to Burger King, you order yourself a Whopper meal. Yeah. The picture on the menu looks stunning. You big it out the bag and you go, compliments to the photographer type thing, isn't it? That's pretty much what it is. But look, we had a sprint weekend. We forgot. We didn't really know that was going to be the case. Until
I don't think it did anyone.
No,
did anyone?
No, after we'd recorded and you went, we're sprinting this weekend. Yeah. And the sprint weekend kind of did everything of what we knew the sprint weekend would do. It gave us a precursor, and then we knew how the rest of the weekend was going to go.
I think this was probably one of the worst sprint weekends we've had in terms of it fulfilling some of the gripes people have about sprints. And I will say, even after this, I'm still not anti-sprint because I would rather have had a sprint quali and a sprint race than another 2 FP sessions that I wasn't going to watch. And I understand some people would have watched them, but that's still better. I'm still happier with the cars on track doing that than just pootling around doing their own run plans. And the highlight video being that Ocon spun at 180 degrees going around one corner because he clipped a curb. And guess what? That's what happened in that 60 minutes. In that way, I'm still on board with it. But when we brought the sprint races in, again, I say we, when the sprint races came in, everyone's concern was, it's just a spoiler because whatever happens in the sprint, whoever wins that is going to be who wins the main race. So we might as well not do the main race because we saw it. And I mean, okay, they were two different names, but the actual race could not have mirrored the sprint race any better if it tried. We had a decent first lap run up the hill, shwubada, down to turn 3. Oh, look, P2's now P1. Guess what? No one can catch the fucker. And we saw that for, 14 laps, and then we saw it for 44 laps. And then we all went home with a load of chocolate. It was great.
Yeah. No, that was it. That was essentially it. I agree with you. I don't think there's a massive more to say about it. I think you and I, generally speaking, have been quite positive about the sprints. I think we've slightly differing opinions of it, but I mean, for me, I just, if this is the way it's going to go, this is what I don't understand with it. And I think this is something that we speak a lot about with Formula One. It's just the inconsistencies of it. Why Spa? Why was Belgium a sprint weekend? Why?
Yeah.
What was the logic behind it? Who decided it was going to be this weekend? Why was it this weekend? Why wasn't it last weekend? Blah, 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 all that other good stuff. Why is it not every week? Just get on with it. Put it every week. Make it slightly more kind of valuable to people. Add some jeopardy somewhere else with it. Whatever you want to do with it, but just do it all the time. And the other thing as well that kind of popped up, and whilst obviously I was watching it and there was absolutely nothing happening, and Brundle had to kind of fill a few kind of a few laps of dead time. He kind of said about George Russell was following somebody, and he was like, well, he's kind of not really sure about making a move here, because actually if he gets into a bit of a scuffle, that's going to impact his ability to go and qualify in the session that's going to come up in an hour's time, because the mechanics aren't going to be able to get the car back in time from wherever it is halfway around the Ardennes forest to build it back up again and let him go for the race that actually means something. So I don't know. I love it. It just feels like a really creased shirt yet. It's come out the washing machine. They've gone, ta-da. You've gone, nope, you still need to iron it.
Yeah. I'm going to have another idea for a sprint format, right?
Nice.
Because we've not changed the format enough. So I've got one more take on it, right? To answer that point of there being concern, right? And I appreciate I'm not the first person to come up with, I fixed the sprints, right? Sprint Fridays, right? Saturday and Sunday, unchanged. Quali, race. Friday, one FP session in the morning. Maybe it's slightly earlier in the day, right? Maybe it's, I don't actually know what time it's usually one-ish, midday-ish,
Doors,
maybe.
isn't it? Yeah.
Let's go a little bit earlier, right? Let's say 10 o'clock in the morning or whatever, we're having our 90-minute FP session. And then we have sprint quali, and then put a feature race in the middle or whatever from a supporter series or something like that. That's fine. And then let's sprint on the Friday night. And then the rest of the weekend is as normal. Because then if you do bottle it in the sprint, you can break curfew if you need to or whatever. Or you've got all of Saturday morning when the covers come off the cars. And then you've got your race on Sunday. And it's maybe slightly less impactful. And it might solve that. Because I think there is a little bit of that. And if you're out in front, sure, right? But it's a maximum of 8 points. And I'm not suggesting we should be giving out more points for the sprint, because then you start to throw all your maths off.
Yeah.
But if you're in P7 and you can go from earning 2 points to earning 3 points, are you going to risk potentially losing 5 points for, so I get it. Maybe that's a solution. Maybe that we just fully contain sprints on Fridays and we have fast Fridays and it's sprinty and whatever, and you do that.
Yeah, I'll buy it. Hey, we'll try it. We'll try and see what happens.
Yeah.
Why not?
Maybe
Why
we
not?
try for one weekend next year. Who knows? Maybe we try for half a weekend. Did you see, by the way, that the official Dutch Grand Prix X account leaked next year's sprint locations?
No, I didn't. Are
so
they every weekend?
No, there's still only 6 of them. But it was announced.
There's 8 this year, isn't it?
It was announced on X by the Dutch Grand Prix account that for the first time ever, Saturdays are all about the sprint at Zandvoort in 2026. Wow. So next year, according to this, and it is a quite official looking F1 graphic, and it is from the official account, we will be sprinting in China, Miami, Canada, Great Britain, the Netherlands, and Singapore. Because if you're going to sprint somewhere, sprint at a track that's notorious for overtaking.
Yeah. So we're going to have a shit Saturday and a shit Sunday at Zandvoort. I wonder, do you reckon we're going to have 2 night races at Singapore? Do you think the sprint on the Saturday might just go shits and giggles in the daylight for something completely different? I mean, that would be something different to think about. Look, to be honest with you, I don't care. I'd rather just do it all or don't bother. I can't be bothered with half-arsing stuff. Get it right or don't bother with it at all, because it just feels like a gimmick. I think that's my issue with it. It doesn't feel like sport. It feels gimmicky because it isn't clearly invested in enough for it to be a main feature of the calendar. It's just kind of a case of, well, we'll just randomly sprinkle some in for the sake of doing something. No. This is the pinnacle of motorsport all around the world, that you've got fans from everywhere now, long-term, new, different nationalities. You take this package around the world and you're just pissing around and just playing with things, and that doesn't make much sense to me. And if you're prepared to play around and mess around with 6 weekends a year, why are we not just playing around with other things? Why all of a sudden do we have to suddenly go, oh shit, it's raining in Spa, well, we better take this seriously? Why not just turn around and go, oh well, we're just going to turn the hose pipes on and just soak the track for shits and giggles and just see what happens?
Yeah. You started off on a rant about sprints and then got into a rant about the weather there, which is great because that's what we're moving on to next.
Segways.
Man, segueing. Lots of talking points re wet weather stuff and procedures and the FIA and whatever. And I think me and you in the next 5 minutes of podcast are potentially going to see eye to eye, but in different directions, perhaps, if our small amount of pre-record chat is anything to go by.
Yep.
I'll let you take a run at things to start with. We had hour and a quarter's worth of delay at the start of the Grand Prix, because admittedly there was a huge amount of water that came down, and we sort of tried to start on time, and then it wasn't going to happen, and then we sat there for a long time, very cricket style, watching it not rain, and then it rained a bit again, and then it didn't rain, and then eventually we got going behind the safety car. Where did you stand on everything procedural with the rain on Sunday?
I think they probably did the right thing with the resources that they have available to themselves at this present moment in time. So I have no issue with what they did, and I would much rather not see people at 180 mile an hour spearing off into the barriers upside down and getting themselves into horrible situations like Lando did at qualifying a couple of years back at Spa. So with what they had available to them, I'm okay. I've got 3 kind of points on it. My first one, to do with kind of climate change or whatever that might be. Is rain wetter in 2025 than what it was 20 years ago? I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I can't remember what a rain shower was like 20 years ago compared to what it is now. But it feels like now in the UK, if it rains really quite hard. That could have been entirely the case in 2025 or 2005, whatever you want to call it. Second one is the issue the standing water? Is it the spray that comes out the back of it? What is the problem there? If it's one of those, do the directives and do the regulations from the FIA have to include a particular design feature which makes sure that something can and can't happen there? Because you watch back some of those Grand Prix back in the good old days and you think, Jesus Christ, these people can't see what's going on, but they're still out there racing and they're not flying off into the barriers at 180 miles an hour. Were the cars slower? Did they move less water? Did they move more water? I don't know the answer to it. And the other thing as well, and I sent you this before we started as a point of reference, and it's something that they use in NASCAR. Good old NASCAR. You know that kind of really kind of medieval sport where they just kind of take sedans and put V8 motors. Exactly. Really archaic. Well, they run around with a pickup truck with massive, great vacuum cleaners on the back of it, sucking all the water off the track, taking it off somewhere else, and making sure the track's dry and ready to go. Now, if they've got that in NASCAR, I joke, but it is an incredibly sophisticated sport with so much more technology in it than what you'd ever possibly kind of see from the outside. But why is that not a thing in Formula One? Why, when it's raining, do you not get half a dozen or a couple of these pickup trucks to run rather than like those silly little road sweeper things that they've got that sometimes pop up? Get these out there. We fly Aston Martins and Mercedes and things like that around the world for their safety and medical cars. Surely we can stick a couple of Chevy Silverados in there with some vacuum cleaners on the back and just hoover all the shit up and let them get on with it a bit earlier.
Yeah, well, they did have a blower. I think they might have just had one blower. They did show it briefly on the broadcast. There was a vehicle driving around, like it looked like it had just a big fuck off leaf blower on the front of it that was kind of doing the role that a car would. I think to roll back to some of points 1, 2, and 3. I don't know massively historically. It's a common thing, isn't it? Like, oh, well, they used to just go out and race in this, and then people are going to show you highlight reels of, no visibility and this, that, and the other. And, oh, yeah, but former pilots have said that the visibility is not as bad as everyone thinks it is, and it looks worse on the telly, and the drivers as rookie mistakes, rah, rah, rah. It's like, well, I dare say that modern Formula One cars, the fact that they're about 18 times larger than the old ones, they're going to put more water up into the air. And I think to answer your question before that of is it like standing water, is it visibility? I think that's half the problem. I think it's sometimes one, sometimes another. I don't think necessarily, from what we heard on the broadcast anyway, I don't think any of the drivers, if it was quali, for example, I don't think any of the drivers would have had a problem starting at 2:01 if we were doing individual laps where we're, a fifth of the track apart. I didn't hear, it might have just not been broadcast, I didn't hear any of the drivers complain about grip. I can't do anything. They're all on inters, so they're obviously, they weren't that unhappy with the track surface. Didn't hear the word aquaplaning once. Didn't see anyone going off track in any of those laps. It wasn't like we've seen before in, Brazil, where we've had those monsoon concessions, and, Lance Stroll in particular is, offered to the gravel 18 times on the one lap. So I think it was entirely visibility based. And I'm not going to pass a comment on that because I've never sat in a Formula One car in the wet behind another Formula One car in the wet going at 200 mile an hour. I'd hazard a guess you probably can't see a fucking thing because they can barely see anything at the best of times. And I think for me, when you've got Piastri on pole, was it Piastri on pole? No, Norris on pole.
Norris on pole, Piastri second.
And they're behind the... Oh, sorry, it was in the... it was in somewhere. They was behind the safety... It was Norris, yeah. It was behind the safety car. And they said, how's visibility? And he was like, I can barely see behind the safety car. I don't know what it's like for them behind me. And it's something that Martin's very good at pointing out that, okay, top down, it looks fine on the telly. And one driver at the front seeing through one car's worth of spray, probably not too bad. You're P15 and you've got cars in front of you, behind you, and they're probably too wide in front of you and whatever. No chance. So, look, I have to throw my better judgment at A, the drivers, and B, the people who are paid to do this. And if they decided, if the medical car went out to do a couple of laps alone and went, nah, not yet, lads, 10 minutes, I'm going to trust that person because they're the people that know what's going on. And I saw a really great comment from someone on Reddit, and I don't know I can't remember what their name was or whatever. It's just something I saw earlier. We all like the being on the edge in Formula One. We want to see drivers really pushing, right? And maybe if they clip that curb a little bit too strong, they're going round, they're in the gravel. We don't really like to see them hit the wall. We don't necessarily mind them facing the wrong way in the gravel because that's safe, if you will. But I saw a wonderful, super short sentence from someone that said, what we want in F1 is jeopardy, not danger. And I think that's a really nice sentence. And I think that sums up whether we should be behind the safety car, red flag, session started or whatever. Jeopardy, not danger, right? We want drivers on the edge of that limit, but we don't want a catastrophic outcome. And I think if you play it 5% into the too early area, you're more likely to have a catastrophic outcome. And as boring as it is to not see cars racing, I'd rather not see a session red flagged and a weekend cancelled because being slightly dramatic because the driver's gone into a wall and not come out of it. So it sucks. They're actual human beings in these cars. And I think we should never be upset with an abundance of caution when it comes to that sort of thing, no matter how safe modern Formula One cars are.
That's fine. Can they do anything more? If that's the way we're going to go, what can be done to make sure that these moments aren't quite so elongated? I understand if it's absolutely hosing it down at the start of the Grand Prix, you're not going to start. But visibility, yes, I agree with you. I think that probably was a contributing factor. But actually, I think the reality of it was probably surface water with that Grand Prix in particular. Because after they started and those 20 cars all cleared up off the hill, and you suddenly you had that kind of front-on shot from turn 3 looking back down the Kemmel Straight, and you kind of saw two McLarens and nothing else. The visibility hadn't really got massively better, had it? Because the other 18 cars had vanished.
Yeah.
They obviously could see something ahead of them, whether it was a blinky light or whatever it was. But actually from the cameras, which are allegedly better than what visibility you get, there were two cars on the track. Everything else was just showered in a cloud of spray. So, I mean, what can they do? Can they adopt those kind of super blower thingies? Is that something that could happen? How often would they get used? Is it a bit like Gatwick Airport, kind of buying 30 snowplows and then it doesn't snow for the next year that they've got them, and they just sit at the end of the runway gathering dust, and by the time it does snow, Dave, who works at Gatwick, takes the keys out and tries to start it and goes, shit, we got a flat battery here, lads, it isn't going to work anyway.
I've got a great idea that fixes the F1 water problem.
Good.
Right? How often do we hear on the broadcast Martin Brundle's stat about how quickly you can fill a bathtub with an F1 car with how much water it lifts up?
Very often.
all the time, right? 2.5 seconds or a second, 80 liters of water a second or whatever, right? But we can't just have, or we don't just want F1 cars trundling around the circuit because they're fueled for a certain amount of laps, and we don't want to ideally take laps out of the Grand Prix, right? In that situation, if we're all decided that the best vehicles to get water off an F1 track are F1 cars, right? Filling a load of bathtubs, right? Send them out. Get them to do a load of safety car laps spread out further. Tell them that they can have 50 car lengths or whatever, right? We go and do some basically wet weather parade laps, right? Where the drivers just go out and they're just feeling the track and they're zigzagging and they are throwing a load of water up in a safe, slow way. We're always going to have a delay after that because we have to go back into a start procedure, right? So we have our wet weather track clearing procedure. They do as many laps as the race director or the safety car or whoever feels necessary to go, I'm happy with the spray now. Back in the garages, pipes in, stick some more fuel back in the bastards, and we'll go again. Because we're talking about, we're coming up with ideas about, let's take track cleaners and super soppers and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
We've got 20 of them. They're bloody good at doing it. We just only put a certain amount of fuel in them.
But there's a problem. There is a problem. And because they can clear it and they can fill those bathtubs up, the bathtubs aren't there. So that water just comes straight back down again, doesn't it? So No, it does. That's what happens. Because if water goes up, then it will come back down again. It doesn't just vanish.
But it doesn't come back down on the bit that matters.
Yes, no, it does. So what you have to do is, and I've figured this out, because there's so many bathtubs where lazy people have just thrown them in hedges and stuff like that, and they can't be bothered to get loads of bathtubs around the circuit. Then we employ your idea. All the water goes up off the track. All of a second, in 2 seconds, we've got 1,000 filled bathtubs with dirty track water, which can then get taken away, and then we can race because the water's gone.
You know how my idea was a genuine idea that I think would work, and then you've just put 1,000 bathtubs around the track? Because all my water just disappeared into the grass and gravel off the side of the track, but now you've put a whole bunch of porcelain there, and porcelain's quite sharp if you crack
but
it.
How many times does Martin Brundle tell you, how quickly does the Formula One car fill up a gravel trap with water? We don't know, do we? We have no idea.
I don't think it ever does.
But that could take 3 weeks, and we haven't got 3 weeks of exhibition laps. But what we've got is, we know in 1.8 seconds, bathtub full. So if we get enough bathtubs in 1.8 seconds... I don't
want the water in the bathtub. Why are you trying to fill the water into the bathtub? I want the water to go on, not in a bathtub.
No, because then you take the bathtubs away.
Who's taking the bathtubs away?
I don't know, some Belgian man. And he could just put them back in a hedge that he found them in on the way
F1
in.
cars will clear the track. We don't need the bathtubs. It blows away in the wind. It goes in the grass. It goes on the fans in the stands. It's not on the track, and we can go racing. I actually thought I had genuinely quite a good idea there, and you've turned it into a stupid bathtub idea. I'm upset now. I thought my serious, genuine suggestion idea is now being made fun of.
Yeah, I suppose you're just kind of circling back around to having like another random sprint race type thing, aren't you?
No, because this is not part of the race. That's the whole point.
But to make it enjoyable, to make it enjoyable and kind of relevant, you could just put some points in it, couldn't you?
But I'm not trying to make it relevant and enjoyable. I'm trying to get to the relevant and enjoyable bit.
No, but you could do, because like that just turns out to be a bit of a practice session. We don't like practice sessions in Formula One.
No, it's not. It's either watch the cars sat in the garage, or we just let them go clear the water for us.
I'm bored of talking about this. Can we talk about something else instead? Have we got any positives to talk about this week? Is there literally anything in our list?
Shout out to Gabriel Bortoletto. That's the one positive from the Belgian Grand Prix. I think the bloke deserves a lot more credit. A hell of a lot more credit than he's getting. And I did actually see something from Bonotto that was like, he's been quick all year. I think it might have been Lazenby or someone like that. Slater had asked him, like, he's really good to see him coming along and getting really quick. And he just went, he's been quick all year. The car just wasn't before. And now we've given him a car that's actually not horrific. And all of a sudden, he's actually probably getting the payoff for what he'd been doing all year. There's just only so much you can do in certain bits of hardware. But yeah, shout out to Bortoletto.
Yeah, well, he does his contract extend to drive for Audi next year as well?
Ooh.
Or is he out of a seat?
I don't ever really know with F1 contracts because they don't seem to be worth a huge amount. He did sign a multi-year contract, which will transition according to my very quick Google.
But
yeah, it's a multi-year deal, but much like a lot of F1 contracts, multi-year never actually has a number attached to it. It's just multi.
No. I mean, the bit I've just read there says that he will drive for Audi in 2026.
Yeah.
But they don't necessarily seem to be the most watertight contracts in the world, do they? Teams seem to be able to get out of them all quite quickly. But no, he has done quite well. I honestly, mate, I do genuinely think that we've got to have a serious off-camera conversation with regards to who actually is the preferred driver of the Lap Down podcast. Because, yes, I understand that he doesn't drink fancy tea and he's not going around kind of with 40-year-old Argentine ladies, but I don't know how relevant Mr. Colapinto is. No, save it for off-camera because I know how sensitive the topic can be.
Yes,
and I don't want to get into one of those.
Just certain fan bases that are very vocal.
I cannot accept the abuse from Buenos Aires again. I'm still crying from the last time.
There's a lot of people using their VPNs in the UK now, Dan. That's all that is.
Well, it could be. Well, yeah. Well, soon you're going to have to upload your driving license to listen to a podcast, aren't you? So we'll.
There
good
you
luck
go.
with that, and we'll know exactly who you are. We won't get the information, but somebody else will. And
that's the end of the positive bit of the podcast, unfortunately, because I now have 2 more quick negative shout-outs before we get into some negative point scoring. Carlos Sainz, what are you doing, buddy? Where you at? What's going on? Carlos, boss mate, come on. What are we doing? This was meant to be good, but you're kind of getting fucking slapped by Alex Albon, and that's not because that's no disservice to Alex Albon. But yeah, I mean, you're getting absolutely fucking annihilated, boy.
But 2025 doesn't matter.
Not this again.
It doesn't. How many more times?
They're in the same car, Dan. They're in the same car. And he finishes like 10 fucking places behind him every week. What's going on, Carlos?
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
He's saving himself. Look, it's exactly the same. Look, I've got myself the Williams Speed Champions Lego set, actually a legitimate one.
Yeah.
And I built a Ferrari one, and I built a Mercedes one, and they happen quite quickly. Whereas the Williams one, I've had that kind of in the bowls and on the table for about a week and a bit now, and I've still got 2 bags to go because 2025 doesn't matter.
Yes, but putting that to one side and looking what we've actually seen this year, can you please explain to me why Alex Albon is absolutely smacking Carlos Sainz?
No, I can't.
Because we both kind of thought it might have been the opposite, and that Albon might have been tested this year for the first time, and he hasn't really been.
We have seen it in other sports, haven't we? Where you kind of depart from the big boys and you end up in the doldrums type thing, which is essentially where Williams have been over the last kind of decade or so. And you either have that opportunity where you turn up and you suddenly go, well, I'm the big dog now. I'm going to absolutely perform and I'm going to show them that they're absolutely wrong. Or, and I think more often than not, for a little while at least, you end up in a position where it's kind of a case of, oh, bloody hell. I just feel a bit sorry for myself at the moment. Maybe I'm not really that motivated by it. And maybe that's what's going on with Carlos. I don't know. He seemed quite happy and bubbly and joyous at the start of the year, and I seem to have seen less and less of him as the season's gone on. So whether he's kind of just got to a point and he's gone, I just don't fancy it. Maybe it's one of that. Maybe that's a way of describing it. But I couldn't give you any kind of technical or performance reasons why, other than
because at this point, Albon's got just over 3 times as many points, right? And if we just go results down the list, right, I'm just going to rattle them off at numbers at you. Albon, 5, 7, 9, 12, 9, 5, 5, 9, 3 DNFs, 8, 6. That's a pretty respectable season for a midfield driver.
Yep.
And then Carlos, DNF 10, 14, DNF 8, 9, 8, 10, 14, 10, DNS 12, 18. Like, there's something going on there that something's weird there. He's not suddenly a shit driver. A bit like Hamilton at Ferrari, he's not suddenly a shit driver. Like, it's bizarre. There's more Hamilton talk, I think, to come in the summer break for us as well as to what the fucking hell is going on there.
I think so. I know we joke about the Williams situation, and I know it's a bit of a wind-up type thing, but in all seriousness, I do genuinely think with what we have been told and what we're led to believe, and yes, I think we can caveat it and say, obviously, he's being outscored 3-1 by Alex Albon. If this continues in 2026, when we are led to believe this is what Williams have been building towards, then I think it becomes more of a talking point. It's not a case that it's not a problem now, but I think if it doesn't then work in 2026, then I think that becomes a little bit of a oh, okay. Because you've got a car that can win Grand Prix now. You've got a team director that's bigged up these new regulation changes. He's got the driver he wanted, and you're still 3-1 down on your teammate Alex Albon. So
Yeah.
I think that's where that becomes a little bit more interesting. And I know we say that 25 doesn't matter, but
No,
they're not
you
going to
say
go and win
25
Grand-
doesn't matter.
Yeah, but we were told it haven't we? But we know that he's not going to go and win races this year. But we are under the impression that podiums, regular points, are on the cards for 26 for Williams. That's what they've been working towards.
But the thing is, regular points are on the cards now for Alex Albon because he's scoring regular points. It's just for some reason, and I get it's a new team, but we're surely past. I mean, if this is cricket, it's not a second new ball anymore. Like we've got to the old. We're looking for reverse swing now. That's what I'll say. And then very quickly, much like what the hell is going on with Carlos, what the hell is going on with Mercedes lately? I feel like they're going under the radar of having really quite a bang average season, bearing in mind that they are only just ahead of Red Bull, and that's 2 cars versus 1 car. So what's going on? I don't think they're copping quite the amount of flack that they deserve to be copping for some of the point tallies that they're bringing home.
Have they shut up shop? Are they tanking for 26 now? Have they kind of resigned themselves? They've got their win, haven't they? Russell won one of the Grand Prix. They've got that. It's in the bank. They'll probably finish third at worst.
They're third at the minute. They're 28 points behind Ferrari, and they are best part of 30 points ahead of Red Bull. And Red Bull's, I don't think, going to suddenly start banging points in with anyone other than
I'd be
Max.
surprised. I mean, they could get second. That's not. I mean, Ferrari could Ferrari it up, and they could get second. So I don't know. I feel like it can't help the distraction that's happened over the last 6 weeks with regards to who's going to drive there and who isn't going to drive there.
You can see what the impact that's had on Kimi, can't you, as well?
Of course.
We haven't got time in this podcast to talk about that. That might be one for later in the weekend of the next Grand Prix. But, I mean, that was sad. That was genuinely sad. Like, you wanted to just give him a little cuddle. Just be like, come on, we're all good, buddy.
For sure. So it kind of helped. There's been more going on off track, I think, with Mercedes than what they've gone on track. And for a team of that size and with what they've achieved in recent years, are they going to be that bothered about picking up the odd win here and there between now and the end of the season? They're not going to win anything. There isn't a trophy for them this year.
Yeah.
Have they just shut up shop? Are they thinking about 26 now and kind of putting their resources in there? And we'll just see the Mercedes car that ran 3 weeks ago will just continue to go through for the rest of the season. And they seem to run quite well in the cold, kind of dry temperatures. Maybe they'll do okay in Vegas or another kind of flyaway race that might be a little bit on the chilly side. Could work. Don't know. Did you see Martin's grid walk?
I didn't see Martin's grid walk.
Well, he took his little buddy Nico Rosberg along with him this time, and he's not shy in coming forward, is he, Nico Rosberg?
No.
They bumped into a father. They bumped into a dad. Certain Jos Verstappen was on the grid. Obviously, he's the de facto team principal of Red Bull Racing, I think, and has been for the last 18 months. And Martin asked the question, said, how is it? How's life at Red Bull? Is Max happy? What's the word on the street, Jos, since Christian Horner departed? And Jos kind of went to go for that classic kind of PC answer of, well, the hierarchy, they elected to make a change and we supported the change and this and we're just focused on. And then Nico just comes in with a sledgehammer and goes, 18 months ago, you said Christian Horner needed to be sacked. And he just kind of went, oh. And it was brilliant because Nico Rosberg does not give a flying shit with regards to what anybody thinks about him. And I absolutely love it. I need and want more Nico Rosberg in my life. And if he's there as kind of bad cop on Formula One weekends, sign me up because that is the content I want. That's the content I need to consume and I want more of it.
Yep. Just not on commentary, please. Special, third seat, special voice only. I don't need him doing play-by-plays. He's objectively terrible at that, but he is very good at throwing an opinion in. So I will back you up on that. We've got right to the end. We haven't left a huge amount of time for the Random World Championship, and it's because not a huge amount of points were scored, despite the fact it was a sprint weekend. Lots of points available, very few points scored. I think you pulled it back by 3 points across both races, which is not ideal. I thought I was onto a relatively good thing with Yuki when he was running in like P7 in the Grand Prix, and then they just fucked it on his tyre swap, and then he was nowhere. So I thought this was going to be Yuki's week, finally, and it wasn't.
I was worried. I was worried for myself because I saw him running around in like P5 and I was thinking, no,
Yeah.
surely not. The weekend that you get Sonoda, and I'm thinking to myself, I knew I wasn't going to score many. 3, I mean, Christ, maybe I've overperformed with 3. Who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, you've still got a 26-point lead. We go again in Hungary, though, and you never
Someone's
know.
got to bang big points soon. They have to. Someone's got to
think?
pull a big banger out of a weekend. A big, like, 40-point weekend or something. You know, it's got to be coming.
Well, the thing, as I say, since our regulation change, it has completely kind of changed the outlook on the season. So
Interesting. We'll see what happens. We'll have a reset after the summer break, and who knows what'll happen after that. Right. Lapdown Pod on your various social platforms. You want to go and see clips and stuff and connect with us on there. Lapdownpod@gmail.com. If you've got any thoughts you want to email us, if you've got any ideas about how we can go racing in the wet in a safer way, then please send them off our way. Dan, if they want to see you doing stuff in the Caribbean and all sorts of other cricket, they should go to where?
yeah, at Dan Jads on the internet. It's going to be
That's
busy,
the one.
actually. I've got a couple of days, week and a bit left, and then disappear off for
we go.
7 weeks, which is
There'll be a lot of palm trees.
lovely.
in the
I will
background of Dan from
try
now
and find that Grand Prix location.
Yeah, there we go. We'll make
do
that
my
happen.
best for you.
We'll make that happen. Right, share this with someone else, leave us a review, subscribe, all that good stuff, and we will see you in just a couple of days as we head towards, where are we going next? Hungary.
Yeah.
And then we've got another 3 or 4 weeks off. So we'll go do that, and then we'll see you all later.
Spot on.